all those ones. That didn't come without a price. That was just the first step in what I realized that I had a problem that I needed to deal with. And he was about 2 years old, and I became a born-again Christian at that time. And it was after I became a born-again Christian that God began to work in my life and work in my heart. And it was probably 2 years after that that I realized I needed to confess what I had done to someone. Because when you hide those things in your life, all they do is create walls and shame and guilt and so many things that stop us from living the life that we were created to live. So what I decided to do was first to confess to my husband what I had done. It wasn't very easy, but I did it, and he has been wonderful. Then I have another friend who was very involved in Loving Arms Crisis Pregnancy Center in Bath, and I was able to go to Lori, and she actually helped me. She had access to a lot of good books and counseling and prayer and all those things. And I began a healing process once I was able to confess what I had done, face that reality, and begin the healing through prayer and the support of good friends. And just of lately, I've been able to speak at different events and things, just share with other women who, and like you had said when you did the intro to your show, so many women have that secret, and it haunts them, and because they're unable to share it with anyone. And I spoke at an event a couple years ago near Buffalo, and I had 4 women out of probably 100 that came up to me and just shared their stories that they had never been able to share before. And that's when the healing process begins, when we can bring that out into the light, and then we can go through the process of dealing with it. And we'll always have the scar. And a friend of mine, very good friend, he was involved in abortions, many through women that he had been with. And he said to me, Patty, he goes, the reality of the choices we've made, and I'll share this only through my faith, he goes, those children are with God, and someday we are going to get to meet those children. And that is the hope that we have for the choice that I made. Mm-hmm. So that helps me to be able to go on, use what I did to help other people not to do it, or to restore a woman's life, or to save a baby. There's light. God is life, and that's what is important to him. The material stuff in this world doesn't matter. It's that we choose life, and especially at the day and the hour that we stand in, politically, what our government is, we need to stand up and say, no, we choose life, and our voices need to be heard.
When I first heard your story at a training session at Birthright of Hornell, which is also a crisis pregnancy center, it was one of the first times you had opened up about it, and the tears flowed quite easily. And I notice even now that you have to hold them back. Does that ever go away? Do you think it will subside? And do you want it? Do you want the pain to go away? Some people, having that agony inside of you probably is a driving force to your ministry to other women. So does it get easier? And do you find that those emotions and tears help or hinder, or how do you work through your emotions when you're doing even something like this today?
Gosh, hinder. I would say it's just part of who I am, and if it touches a woman's heart, if you can share who you are and in a deep level, and where it really reaches, because we're all emotional. God made us emotional. Mm-hmm. And I think that I still continue to well up, and I don't know if I always will. I think I probably will, only because I think that's how God really works in my heart still, to share the deep emotional pain that an abortion causes. So it does get easier. When I first started to confess the abortion and to talk to people, I couldn't even get through it without crying. Many times when I've had the opportunity and spoke in different church groups, those things, it all depends on the circumstance. So I don't know, I'd like to say I hope I can get through it most times without crying. It's getting better, but I think it's just all part of what it is.
Right. I think you're right, though, as a woman, if she's experienced that pain, she's gonna be willing to let her emotions out as well as she listens to your story. If there's one thing as we wrap up that you want women to hear from you this morning, what would that be?
That life is the only choice. And if by chance you're a woman that is listening that has had an abortion, there is healing. Don't hide it anymore. You don't have to. If you hide it, it only creates more emotion, more difficulty, more shame, more separation. God wants us to live life and live it to the full. So choose life every time, but don't be ashamed if you have done what I did, because there can be life again, and that's what God chooses, for us to have life again.
Thank you so much, Patty Gambino, for joining us this morning. If you yourself have chosen abortion and Patty's words have touched you, there is hope. There is hopeafterabortion.com. You can also visit Rachel's Vineyard for anyone seeking post-abortion counseling. You've been listening to the Amy McManus Show on AM 1480 WLEA.